George Harrison, The Inner Light.
Scan not a friend with a microscopic glass. You know his faults, let his foibles pass. Life is an enigma, true, my friend. Read on, the answer's at the end.
Look at you all, see the love that's sleeping. While my guitar gently weeps. Look at the floor and I see it needs sweeping. Still my guitar gently weeps.
George's called the quiet one, and I always thought that was a terrible misnomer because whenever I was with him, he never stopped. Talk about anything, and had very strong opinions on lots of things. We were always wanting to learn something else and find out about something else.
In the first part of our celebration of the life and music of George Harrison, we focus on his contribution to the extraordinary and enduring legacy of the Beatles.
George's sense of humor was essential to the Beatles, and his harmonies and his wonderful lead guitar playing, his good taste in melodies and his songwriting were all indispensable contributions to the Beatles.
I mean, everyone can probably sing George Harrison's guitar solos. All of us listening to this could sing them all. Now that's because, you know, they were a hugely famous group, but the point is there are millions of hugely famous groups, but you can't do their guitar solos. I think that's just amazing achievement and unique.
George's songwriting, actually I always loved George's songwriting from the first one, Don't Bother Me, and I liked him all the way through, and my favourite probably is The Inner Light, which is a completely surprising little piece. It's just so sad and sweet and bright and in everything in one go, really. It's a beautiful little song.
Without going out of my door, I can know all things on earth. Without looking out of my window, I can know the ways of heaven. The farther one travels, the less one knows, the less one really knows.
I like the modesty of George. The Beatles are going for it 1,000,000%, and George is just kind of standing there, just moving a little bit, and he knows he's good, but he's not sort of flaunting himself. He's just getting on with his job and giving a little smile now and again. I think it's very endearing and shows his inner light and inner peace.
Arrive without traveling, see all without looking, do all without doing.
The Inner Light, and before that some of the friends and musicians featured in this series: Michael Palin, Roger McGuinn, Bob Geldof, Jeff Lynne and Brian May. The youngest of 4 children, George was born in 1943, and the music he heard through his childhood was mostly made up of benign popular songs booming from a radiogram tuned to the BBC Light programme. But as his teens began, something more intoxicating was infiltrating the airwaves.
All I can do is draw upon what I've been exposed to, and I can give you my history of music. The first thing I can remember hearing was One Meatball, and I don't know who did it, but it was One Meatball. Next I remember people like K-Star, Ruby Murray, Frankie Lane, Johnny Ray, and all that thing, you know, that was going on, must have been in the late 40s, early 50s. And the first thing that gassed me was Heartbreak Hotel, Elvis Presley, and Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry, and those things. And I think one of the greatest people for me was Buddy Holly, because first of all he sang, wrote his own tunes, was a guitar player, and he was very good, exceptionally good. But Buddy Holly was the first time I ever heard A to F sharp minor. Fantastic, he's opening up new worlds there. And then A to F, Peggy Sue. You know, he just A, D, E, F, and a F sharp minor. Fantastic. Buddy Holly was sensational, so I mean, a little bit of that rubbed off in as much as I no longer have a fear of changing from A to F.
Peggy Sue, pretty, 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 pretty Peggy Sue, oh Peggy, my Peggy said, oh well I love you gal, yes I need you Peggy Sue, oh well I love you gal and I want you Peggy Sue.
The exotic sounds and names of the first wave of rock and roll stars. Buddy Holly and the Crickets, Elvis Presley, Little Richard, Carl Perkins, Gene Vincent, Eddie Cochran, the Everly Brothers captivated George and his school friends. It wasn't just their music, but also the glamour of their flamboyant clothes and glittering guitars. George attended the well-respected grammar school, the Liverpool Institute, where in the year above him was his friend Paul McCartney. In 1958, he joined Paul in a skiffle group called the Quarrymen, led by a rowdy art college boy 2.5 years older than him, John Lennon. Over the next few years, the three of them developed their music and chased their dreams. And watching their progress was another Institute pupil, now a BBC newsreader, Peter Sissons.
To understand any one of that group, just take the time to stroll around those streets in which they were brought up. They're all a bit gentrified now, a little bit of a theme park atmosphere in part, you know, as the tourist buses go around. But go when it's raining and when there's nobody around. And this is where it entered their minds to do something that other kids weren't going to do. These boys, unknown to each other in the late 40s, were growing up, but they all had these huge empty spaces in their lives which they had to fill because there was no TV. You know, you couldn't afford to go to the cinema perhaps more than once a week for the Saturday morning show for threepence, and you made your own entertainment. And all I'm saying is that these kids from this area, suddenly, when they heard the first chords of this musical revolution, the rock and roll coming in from America, and the primeval noises of the guitar that was starting to be thumped out, that struck a real chord with them too. They wanted to make that noise. And suddenly, it wasn't just like, let's imitate them, because they could do that very quickly, because they're all quite clever. It was, we can do better.
We were just cocky people. That's all. I think, you know, even before we had a group, you know, we was going to school and there was just John, Paul and I skiffling in each other's houses with guitars. This is going back to 57, 58, you know. Thank you, Lonnie. Love you. Anyway, so we were cocky because of those days it was like Cliff Richard and the Shadows and all those people who were really big, and we'd go to see these people. And I remember going to see Cliff and all them, and all these American stars would come over, and I'd go to bed at night as a kid, 12 or 13 or something, and I'd lie there and I'd think, you know, I just knew, you know, for whatever reason, I just knew something good was going to happen. I saw pictures of yachts and tropical islands and all that in my mind. And I just remember thinking, well, we're better than all them, even though we hadn't done anything. And it wasn't the ego thing of thinking, hey,